have another video all about resin management and free-to-play tips on how to manage your resin effectively and farm for your characters with minimal effort. If you are a free-to-play player or a low spender, you might not spend money on refilling your resin, and you might use that money either for your primo gems or you don't spend money in the game at all. Sometimes farming for your characters and getting all the required materials for your weapons and leveling them up can take a lot of time. If you are farming for characters to be leveled up, I have some tips for how to manage your resin effectively so that you won't be wasting any time or any resin. Let us get started with the tips, and here is tip number 1. Something that I like to do is have a character designated day. These days are according to the days that domains for their talent books are available. For example, today is what I call Albedo Day for myself because his talent books are available in Forsaken Rift, which are the ballad books. This is the day where I spend my resin and my time farming for only Albedo. If you are leveling up many characters at once, you don't have to do this kind of technique on sorting characters per day, but this is just how I like to manage which days I'm farming for which characters. If you already have a plan in mind, you don't have to use the whole talent matching up thing, but just having one character day is really helpful so you know where your resin should go into. On this specific character day, I use my resources to level up the categories that I need for this character. If you need to level up your character's XP, then you would farm XP books and XP materials. If you need to ascend your character, then you would farm bosses and get ascension mats. If you're at the point where you only need to farm artifacts for the character and everything else is maxed out, then you can go ahead and farm the artifacts for that. I have an artifact guide video if you're unsure of which artifacts go where and what artifacts do. This is also a great time to find out which weapon you're going to use on your character and farm materials for that weapon. I'll go into more depth about the weapon later on in the video. When I first log into the game in the morning, I check how much resin I have and see what I need to farm for. So since it is Albedo Day, I will have to farm materials for talents. That is either farming talent books or Mora to level up the talents. Since I have around 20 million Mora, I don't think I will need to farm Mora, but I still need to farm a few more ballad books for Albedo. After making your resin condensed and using your resin for boss materials if you need it, I will then farm the materials where you have to collect around the map. The Adventurer's Handbook is a great help if you are looking for locations on where to farm these materials, such as these sand materials. I need to know where the masks are, and also these scrolls. And also the interactive map has great locations too, and it will show more locations than what the Adventurer's Handbook actually shows. After farming the mob drop materials, then I always go out and farm the world materials. If you are someone who is really busy and you don't have time to go around gathering these materials, that is completely fine. Usually you get a lot of these materials from just wandering around, or if you're just going to a certain location getting commissions, you get all of these materials pretty naturally. So I don't really need to spend a lot of time for gathering these things. Some materials can be bought, such as violet grass, Noctilucous jade, or these flowers. You can buy them in Liyue. There's also some NPC shops that sell some of these ascension mats if you are low on them. I always prioritize my weapon because the weapon does not gain XP from defeating an enemy, so I can max it out. If you have enhancement ores such as the mystic ones or just the normal ones, or also 3-star weapons, then you can use those. After leveling up the weapon, I always then like to go to talents. I level up my talents to as high as they can be, but if your characters are not ascended, then you cannot level them up really farther. So then it is going to be XP farming day. If it is not the character farming day, I do not recommend using your resin to farm things for that character, which means I wouldn't go farm materials for Klee if it was Albedo Day. The next thing is going to be weapon material farming. Now, as I said, you want to get your weapons to the highest possible level. If your weapons are at the point of ascension, then you will farm ascension mats on that day. If you are not leveling up characters, instead of having a character day, you're going to have a weapon assigned day, such as Dragonspine Spear Day, where I will check if Cecilia Garden offers the Dragonspine Spear ascension mats. Since I am at the point of ascension, I would then ascend my spear on this designated day. If you are not at the point of ascension and you need to collect a bunch of XP materials, then you would do that instead. If you want to use your resin on making these XP enhancement ores, you could do that, However, I do not do that because I think my resin can be used in many other ways than just making this weapon XP. But if you really need these ores, you can do that. Make sure you have enough Mora to level up anything you need to. If you do not have enough Mora, then you will go out and farm those on the day of the item you need to farm for. It seems very complicated, but here's an example. If you are farming for the Dragon Spine Spear and you need to ascend it, if you don't have the materials, then you would farm the materials first. Then if you are ready to ascend but you don't have enough Mora, then you would go and farm the Mora after, and then vice versa if it's the other way around. After farming ascension mats, then you might need to farm the mob drops, which can also be farmed with the Adventurer's Handbook. The last thing I'd like to note if you are farming for weapon ascension materials or weapon enhancement materials is talking to the blacksmith in all of the 3 regions. If you talk to the blacksmith in Mondstadt, he will tell you the locations of crystal ores. The same works for Liyue and Inazuma. You can farm these crystal ores and then use them to make the enhancement ores. And now the last thing, which is the artifacts. I like to designate Sunday as my artifact farming domain day because all the domains are available. Since everyone's available today, instead of farming everyone's talent books or materials, I would go and farm artifacts. I currently have over 1,500 artifacts and I still need to sort through them. I'm going to make a separate video on me enhancing artifacts and seeing which ones are good and which ones level up in the right stats. More on that later. If you need the enhancement XP for the artifacts, here's what I like to do. First, make sure to use the lower leveled artifacts, such as the 1-star, 2-star, and 3-star. If you are still early game and you are using 3-star artifacts for your characters, that is completely fine. Instead, you would just use the 1-star and 2-star ones. If you are low on artifacts, and I mean really low on artifacts, you can go on an artifact farming route where you go around the map and you find these locations where you can click investigate and you will get these lower level artifacts, which are usually 1-star. Sometimes 2-star and rarely 3-star. But recently, miHoYo added a way to exchange your artifacts into the artifacts you want. I'm currently not farming for Bennett's artifacts because I'm going to use my bad artifacts and turn them into noblesse artifacts through this artifact exchange system. Now it only works for 5-star artifacts, so if you're not at the point where you have a lot of 5-star artifacts, then I really don't think you should do it yet. So in summary, just make sure you have a character designated day. If you're not farming for characters, then have a weapon designated day. And if you're farming for artifacts or you need artifact XP, then use the lower level artifacts that you get from the domains. You can exchange artifacts through the artifact crafting system. If you are farming for Bloodstained, Noblesse, Wanderers, or Gladiators, you can do it that way. I hope that you find this small resin management guide helpful. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and have a great day.